Hi, friends. I have a new story to read to you, and this is about a python, a type of snake, and this is called Verdi, and it's by Janelle Cannon, and she also wrote the story Stella Luna. So if you're familiar with that, it's by the same author, and that's another really good book. Verdi. You see a little black and white picture here. It's kind of small of a snake. Let me see. Move this just a little bit so you can see better, maybe. Okay, here we go. On a small tropical island, the sun rose high above the steamy jungle. A mother python was sending her hatchlings out into the forest the way all mother pythons do. Grow up big and green as the tree's leaves, she called to her little yellow babies as they happily scattered among the trees. But Verdi dawdled. He was proudly eyeing his bright yellow skin. He especially liked the bold stripes that zigzagged down his back. Why the hurry to grow up big and green? He wondered. Maybe some of the older snakes in the jungle could tell him. Verdi ventured into the treetops to look for them. You can see he's nice and yellow and bright, and he likes his zigzags. Umbles, Aggie, and Ribbon were lazing on some branches nearby. Verdi peered at their droopy green bodies. It's not polite to stare, chided Aggie. Umbles burped and groaned. It's taken nearly 4 weeks for that last lizard to digest. I surely do like lizards, but lizards don't like me. Why don't lizards like you? Asked Verdi. Don't interrupt, Umbles grumbled. Dear me, whined Aggie. If I don't shed soon, this itchy skin will drive me bananas. Verdi tapped a tune with his tail as he waited to speak. Stop that, Verdi. It makes me nervous, Ribbon complained. Besides, you'll never grow up to be properly green, always interrupting and constantly fidgeting. Verdi couldn't imagine being in such a hurry to be like them, and he really wanted to keep his sporty stripes. Hoping to find snakes that weren't so boring, Verdi slipped away. So here we see the other pythons that are grown up, and they have that green skin. And one of them talks about needing to get the itchy skin off because they shed their skin in their body does not grow like our skin in our body. So they have to shed their skin as they grow. Dozer was snoring in a tree not far from the others. Hello, said Verdi. Do you want to climb trees with me? I'm tired, Dozer growled. Go do a few laps around the jungle, okay? Verdi's heart sank. Greens were not only lazy and boring, they were rude. At the top of a very tall tree, Verdi gripped one branch with his tail and another with his little yellow snake jaws. I will never be lazy, boring, or green, he thought. I will jump and climb and keep moving so fast that I will stay yellow and striped forever. Then Verdi let go. And here we can see him, and he's going to jump. Let's see what happens. Oh, wow. Look at him flying through the sky and then almost in a spiral shape. Wow. From a distance, the greens watched. Oh my, they chorused. Ribbon shook his head. At this rate, he'll be lucky to make it to his first molt. Molt is that first shedding. Aggie nodded. He's likely to put an eye out on that branch. Umbles moaned. He may not live to turn green. So the older snakes, kind of the wiser ones, they're worried about what he's doing and the choices he's making. They're worried he may not even survive to make it to turn green. But one day, Verdi's skin began to peel, starting to shed. revealing a pale green stripe stretching along his whole body. Gak! He gasped. How can this be? I'm the speediest snake in the jungle and I'm still turning green. He raced down to the river, grabbing up a mouthful of rough leaves. So here we see him. He does not want to have that green. Verdi flung himself into the water. If I can't run this green off, I'll scrub it off, he thought. So he's using those leaves and trying to scrub off the green. You think that's going to work? I don't think so. His frantic splashing caught the eye of a large bottom feeder cruising the murky depths. Yum, the old fish hummed. Lunch. Oh no, he's going to go try to eat him for lunch. Before the fish could haul Verdi under, the frightened snake bit him on the nose. Ah, poof! With a blast of his rubbery lips, the great fish sneezed, sending Verdi into the air, slapping onto the soggy shore. Verdi skidded out of reach. So he bit him on the nose, trying to get away and save himself. Phew, that was close, he sputtered. Every inch of his body was covered with wet, gloppy mud. Kind of lumpy, kind of brown. It sure beats being green. He left the mud on. So he flung himself and landed in the mud. And now he's covered with that brown mud. And he's thinking he'll leave it on because it's better than being green. But if you know mud, does it stay brown and sticky and wet? No, it starts to dry and clump off. But the soft brown muck dried into a hard gray shell, and Verdi could barely move. If he even budged, the stuff cracked off in jagged chunks. As each piece fell away, Verdi could see that his body was even greener than before. This is terrible, cried Verdi. He pictured himself hanging around in droopy loops, itching and complaining and worrying all day like the old greens. He looked up into the sky where the sun blazed a beautiful yellow, just the color he used to be. Then he pulled a vine to the top of the tree. So there the mud is kind of falling off because it's dried and it's become gray, almost like a shell. Launching himself from the treetop, Verdi startled a flock of colorful birds. He became dizzy with delight, sure the bright sun and his lofty speed would turn him golden again. In his joy, Verdi forgot that he would fall back to earth. So he's thinking if he gets high up in the sun, he'll definitely turn back to his yellow. And he's not being very careful. He's not really thinking this through as to what might happen. Whippity, whappity, flip, flop, wham! Plummeting through the trees, Verdi landed in a crooked sprawl across a log on the forest floor. He couldn't move. Help! He croaked. So it's kind of like if you jumped from a building way up high and you land, it's not going to be good. You're going to get hurt. And that's why, too, at the playground, we always tell our friends, don't jump from the playground. You have to go down the slide or climb down. As usual, the greens had been watching Verdi's antics. They moved quickly to where he lay. Didn't we say it would come to this? Humble said, shaking his head. Aggie sighed. Lucky thing, he's got two good eyes. They gently lifted Verdi up to a safer place where they could watch over him while he healed. So thankfully, the other green pythons were there, and they're going to take care of him. They've gently picked him up, and they're going to watch over him while he heals. Neatly splintered to a branch, Verdi had no choice but to listen to the greens as they gabbed. Remember how I used to streak across the forest floor? Ribbon asked. Quick as lightning, answered Aggie. And I climbed giant trees like they were nothing. They grew taller then, you know. The things I dared to run down and swallow, Umbles bragged. Wild boar were no match for me. Verdi was astonished. You used to run and climb and hunt giant pigs? What happened? Ribbon crashed, just like you, Aggie replied. I took a terrible fall and almost put an eye out. Then old Umbles here nearly choked to death. Now we all prefer the quiet life, a warm perch, a little sunshine, and an occasional good meal. The Greens rambled on about their days of glory, and Verdi settled in on his branch. So here they have him splintered to the branch so that he can heal. Kind of like a splint that you would get if you broke your arm or your leg, so that your bones can heal properly. Finally, one afternoon, Umbles said, Looks like you're ready to go again. He carefully untied Verdi from the branch. You're welcome to come with us, said Aggie. Ribbon agreed. The three Greens slipped quietly back into the forest. Verdi wasn't ready to join them. He wasn't sure where he wanted to go, so he just stretched and stayed put until the sun went down. He listened to the forest come alive. So there he is. He's not quite ready. He doesn't really know where he belongs, what he should do. So he's just going to rest and think about it. And here we see the forest animals, and we see the nocturnal animals coming alive, like the owl and some insects. Time passed. The sun and moon took turns in the sky. Verdi marveled as the full moon grew thinner every night. And then he watched patiently as it slowly grew round again. He wondered why he hadn't noticed that before. Verdi became so green that he blended perfectly with the leaves. He was so still that the other creatures walked right by without seeing him. And here we see the sugar glider, which is a nocturnal animal, and Verdi's right there. He's so still and quiet that they don't even see him. One fine morning, as Verdi basked in the sunshine, two small yellow snakes approached. They tapped and fidgeted as they stared. Get a load of that old green guy, one of them whispered. Do you think he ever moves? The other snickered. I seriously doubt it. They're just like I used to be, thought Verdi, and I'm now what I was afraid to be. He looked at his big green body and slowly smiled. How would you like to climb trees with me? He asked. With you? The yellows were astonished. I'll even show you my fancy figure 8, Verdi replied, though he was a little worried about putting his eye out. So now he's become older and wiser, but he still understands how these little yellow ones feel. With practice, the three snakes performed a perfect triple figure 8. Leaping and looping with his little striped friends, Verdi laughed. I may be big and very green, but I'm still me. And they all are together, and he's the big green one in the middle. And that's the end of our story for today. I hope you enjoyed our story about the snake, this python, and all of his growing up adventures. Take care, friends. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.